bookmarks to a JSON string and storing it in local storage, we ensure that our bookmarks are saved and can be retrieved later. By saving the updated bookmarks to local storage, every time a change is made, we ensure that the user's changes are not lost. This improves the overall user experience as users can rely on their bookmarks being saved. Next, we have to retrieve data from the local storage. Let's go up, and in the useEffect function, we need to declare new variable. It's going to be saved bookmarks. It should be equal to json.parse. Then we have to insert here local storage dot get item, and we have to pass here bookmarks. Also, we have to add here OR operator, and then we need an empty array. Alright, so let's break down the code and start with json.parse method. The value retrieved from local storage is stored as a string. To use it as an array or object, we need to convert it back to its original format. This is where json.parse comes in. json.parse takes a JSON string and converts it into a JavaScript object or array. If the retrieved value is null, meaning there were no bookmarks stored previously, json.parse will return null. This is why we add a fallback value. The OR operator is a logical OR operator. It returns the first truthy value it encounters. If json.parse returns null, the expression will evaluate to an empty array. This ensures that saved bookmarks is always an array, even if there were no bookmarks stored in local storage. Next, we have to update bookmarks using setBookmarks function, and we have to pass here saved bookmarks. So we pass saved bookmarks as an argument to set bookmarks to initialize the bookmark state with the data retrieved from local storage. If there were no bookmarks stored in the local storage, saved bookmarks will be an empty array, effectively initializing the state with no bookmarks. By retrieving and setting the bookmark state from local storage during the component's initialization, we ensure a seamless user experience. Users don't lose their saved bookmarks and continue from where they left off. Now, I'm going to go to the browser. Let's add some of the articles to the bookmarks, then open bookmarks, and as you can see, we have here 4 articles saved in the bookmarks. Now, if I refresh the page and open bookmarks, then we will have here still the 4 saved articles. Now, if we inspect the page, open application, you will find here bookmarks, which includes 4 articles, and actually it is an array. Alright, we have successfully added local storage functionality to our bookmarks feature. Now our users' bookmarks will persist even after they refresh the page or close and reopen their browser. This is a great step forward in enhancing the user experience of our application. Make sure to test these changes using the developer tools to ensure that everything works correctly. Now we're starting a new and exciting section of our course. We're going to build a weather widget. This is a great way to learn more about integrating third-party APIs, in this case OpenWeather Map API, handling user input and displaying dynamic data in a visually appealing way. By the end of this section, you will have a fully functional weather widget that you can add to any of your projects. This component is part of our main layout, which we created at the beginning of this course. So let's dive in and start coding. So here we have the weather component. If we go back to the VS Code, you'll find here weather.jsx file, which we created recently. So right now we have here a single development with the text weather. I'm going to get rid of this text and I'm going to add here a couple of different elements. So the first element is going to be div with the class name search, in which I'm going to insert another div with the class name search top. This will include a font awesome icon, and it's going to be fa solid fa location dot Then after I element, I'm going to insert div element with the class name location. By default, I'm going to insert here Tbilisi, which is the capital city of Georgia, where I live. Next, I'm going to add here search location, in which I'm going to insert input elements with the type text. Also, I'm going to add here placeholder attribute with the text enter location. After input elements, I'm going to insert I elements with the classes fa solid, fa magnifying glass. It's going to be a search icon. So after search location, I'm going to create another div, and it's going to be weather data. So now we need to insert here an icon of the weather. By default, I'm going to insert here an icon of the sun. So in this part, I'm going to use one of the libraries of the icons called box icons. Box icons is a comprehensive free collection of carefully crafted open source icons that are designed to be both visually appealing and highly functional. These icons cover a wide range of categories and use cases, making them a versatile choice for any web development project. Let's go to the website of the box icons. So that's the website of the box icons library. One of the standout features of box icons is its simplicity. The icons are easy to integrate and use within your project, saving you time and effort that would otherwise be spent creating custom icons or searching for suitable alternatives. So to use box icons in your project, we have to click usage, then we have to click import the CSS, and we have to grab this CDN link. Let's copy it. Then I'm going to open index.html file. I'm going to insert the CDN link here in the head element. Alright, so as I said, we need an icon of the sun. So let's go ahead and search for sun. I'm going to use this icon here. So I'm going to click font, and then we have to grab this element from here. Let's add I elements, and instead of class, let's use class name. Now let's take a look at the project. So here we have an icon of the sun. Alright, let's go ahead and continue adding the JSX content to the weather component. So after I elements, I'm going to insert here div element, which is going to be weather type. In this case, I'm going to add here clear. After weather type, I'm going to create div element for the temperature, and let's insert here, for example, 28 degrees Celsius. I'm going to copy the Celsius sign. Alright, so I think that's it. All the elements are created. So here we have the icon of the location, then the location itself. We have the input field for entering the location, then the icon of the weather, the type of the weather, and the temperature. Now it's time to bring it to life with some beautiful styling and customization. This is where our component will truly become an integral part of our application. We'll be diving into CSS to style each element of the component, making sure it's not only functional but also visually appealing. So let's get our hands dirty with some CSS and make this widget stand out. I'm going to go to the VS Code. As you know, we already created weather.css file. Let's open it. We have here a couple of different styles for the wrapper div element, which is weather. So I'm going to add to this div element some additional styles. We need to create some space inside the component using padding. Let's set it to 2 rem at the top and bottom and 1.5 rem on the left and right sides. Also, I'm going to use flexbox to align the content of the component. So let's use display flex. Then we need to align flex items vertically in a column. Therefore, we need to change the direction. Let's make it column. Also, we need justify content center and align items center to center the content of the component. Finally, we need some space between the flex items. Let's create some gap using row gap with the value 3 rem. Okay, so as you can see, the content of the weather component is aligned. Next, I'm going to take care of the search part. I mean this element here. So let's go ahead and select search. Let's use again CSS flexbox to align the content of the search. We need display flex. Then we have to change again the direction of the flex items. I mean, we need to use flex direction column and also create some gap using row gap with value 1 rem. Alright, after that, let's go ahead and customize the first part of the search div element, I mean search top. So I'm going to select this element. Let's use again CSS flexbox. So we need here display flex. Then I'm going to align item center and then create some gap using column gap with the value 1 rem. Alright, so after that I'm going to customize the icon, I mean the location icon. So let's go ahead and select search top followed by the I element. I'm going to increase the font size, let's set it to 2.5 rem, and also I'm going to change the color of the icon. Let's make it light gray using color DDD. Alright, after that, let's take care of the location. So I'm going to select location, change the font family. In this case, I'm going to use font called Conforta Sans serif. Then I'm going to set the font size to 1.8 rem. Also make the font bold using font weight bold. And finally, we need to make the text white using color FFF. Okay, so that's it about the location. Next, I'm going to take care of the search input. So I'm going to select search location followed by the input element. First of all, let's define width, and in this case I'm going to use function called clamp. As you remember, it takes 3 parameters. The first one is the minimum value, it's going to be 15 rem. Then we have preferred value, and I'm going to set it to 14 CQI. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 25 rem. Next, I'm going to set the height of the input element to 4 rem. Also, I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's make it none. And then change background color. I'm going to make background color transparent. After that, I'm going to set border at the bottom. Let's add here 0.1 rem, solid, and as the color, I'm going to use AAA. Okay, so the input field looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to set font size to 1.5 rem, and also I'm going to change the color. Let's make it DDD. Okay, so everything looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to take care of the search icon. So let's go ahead and select search location followed by the I element. I'm going to take care of its position. Let's set position to absolute. Then we need position relative for the parent element, which in this case is search location. Let's add to it position relative. Then I'm going to define top position. It's going to be 50%, and I'm going to place the I element in the center vertically. For that, we need to use transform, then translate Y function, and we have to add here minus 50%. In this case, the icon will be centered perfectly according to the vertical direction. After that, I'm going to change its right position. Let's set it to 1 rem. Also, I'm going to set font size to 1.8 rem, and finally change the color, make it white. Okay, so as you can see, the icon looks pretty nice. Next, we have to take care of the weather data, which includes the icon, Then we have weather type and the temperature. So let's go ahead and select wrapper development, which has class name weather data. First of all, I'm going to align the content using, again, CSS Flexbox when it display flex. Then I'm going to change the direction. Let's make it column. Actually, we need here column. Then I'm going to align items in the center. And finally, let's create gap using row gap with the value 2rem. Alright, after that, let's customize the eye element. I mean the icon of the sun. So we need to select weather data followed by the eye element. Let's set font size to 5rem. Then I'm going to select eye element using its class name, because once we make the weather widget functional, we will be using other icons as well. I mean icons for other type of weather. Therefore, we will need different colors for the icons. So I'm going to select weather data followed by the eye elements, and we have to add here class name bxs sun. Let's set color and make it FFC87C. Alright, so that's it about the eye element. Next, I'm going to take care of the weather type and the temperature. So I'm going to select weather type. Actually, we need here weather type. And also I'm going to select temperature. I'm going to set font family to Comforta sans serif. Then I'm going to set font size to 2rem. And also let's change the color, make it DDD. Alright, so actually the weather type is not styled. Let's check the class name. So we have a mistake here. We need weather. Let's check. So now it is customized. Alright, so fantastic job everyone. We have successfully styled and customized our weather component, turning our basic JSX structure into a sleek, user-friendly component. It is really nice to see how a bit of CSS can transform our project, making it both functional and aesthetically pleasing. Before we dive into the code, let's talk a little about the Open Weather Map API. Open Weather Map API is a service that provides weather data, including current weather, forecasts, and historical data to the developers of web services and mobile applications. To use it, you need to sign up on their website and get an API key. This key will allow us to make requests to their server and retrieve weather information for different locations. So this is a website of the API. If we go to the API section, you will find here all the information about how to use this API and how to fetch the real-time data. I'm going to show all the needed steps throughout this lecture. The only thing that you have to do is to create an account, which is a very simple and straightforward process. So let's go ahead and register. So the first thing that I'm going to do is to create a state variable. Let's create data. Then we need set data, the updater function, and it should be equal to a new state hook. And the default value is going to be an empty object. So we create a state variable named data using the useState hook. The purpose of this state variable is to store the weather data fetched from the Open Weather Map API. We initialize data as an empty object because initially we don't have any weather data to display. The weather data is something that will change based on the location input by the user. By storing this data in a state variable, we ensure that the component re-renders and updates the UI whenever the weather data changes. Make sure that you import useState hook from React, otherwise you will get some errors. Next, I'm going to create the search function in our component. This function will be responsible for fetching the weather data from the Open Weather Map API. So I'm going to create a new function, and it's going to be search. we need here async keyword followed by the arrow function. So we start here by declaring an asynchronous function named search. The async keyword is used here because we will be using await within this function to handle the asynchronous operation of fetching data. Next, we have to define the API URL. So let's go to the website and find the API endpoint. We need to find current weather data, and we have to click here API doc. Here we have to find the API call that includes the city name and the API key. Let's go down and find the API call. Here it is. We have here the URL, which includes city name and also the API key. If I open this link, then we'll get here the API key. All right, so I'm going to copy this URL. Then I'm going to create here new variable. It's going to be URL. Then open template literal and insert the copied URL. So instead of city name, I'm going to insert some hard-coded city name, let's say London. As for the API key, I'm going to copy the API key from here, and then let's paste it here. Alright, so now I'm going to test this URL, and I'm going to use again Thunder client. Let's click new request. Then I'm going to copy this URL from here, paste it here, and click send. So as you can see, we got here a response in JSON format with all the information about the weather in London. So here we have the weather type, it is clouds. Then down below you can see temperature, which right now is shown in Kelvin, and we have to convert it in degrees Celsius. Then down below we have country, Great Britain, and also the name of the city, London. Also we have here code 200, which means that the request was successful. Alright, so in order to convert Kelvin into degrees Celsius, I'm going to add here ampersand, and within those ampersands I'm going to insert units equal to metric. Now if I click again send, then we will get here temperature in Celsius. Alright, so I'm going to copy this URL and replace with the current one. So after that, we have to make an HTTP GET request, and I'm going to use again Axios. So first of all, let's import Axios from Axios. Then I'm going to create a new variable, and it's going to be response, which should be equal to await, then Axios, and we have to use get method with the parameter URL. So this line of code is used to make an HTTP GET request to a specified URL using the Axios library in JavaScript. Again, the await keyword indicates that this line will pause the execution of the function until the HTTP request is completed, and then it will store the result in the response variable. Now I'm going to show you the response variable in console. So let's log to the console, response. Then I'm going to call this function when we click the search icon. So let's add here on click event handler, and we have to pass here search, the name of the function. So let's go to the browser, inspect the page, switch to the console tab. Let's reload the page, then again open console. So now once I click the search icon, then we will get here the response, which includes different information about the weather in London. Here we have data, which includes the weather type, the temperature, the name of the city, and so on. Alright, so everything works fine. We have successful response from the HTTP GET request. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is to update the data, I mean this state variable. So we need here set data, and we have to pass here response dot data. It is the property from the response, I mean this one, and it includes all the information about the weather. All right, so before we move on, let's actually check data in the console to make sure that everything works fine. Let's click the icon. So as you can see, we have here the data. We extracted the data from the response. All right. So right now we have here a hard-coded location, London, and we have to replace it with the dynamic one. First of all, I'm going to create new state variable, and it's going to be location. Then we need set location, the updater function. It's going to be equal to uStateHook, and by default I'm going to make it empty. I mean, we need to pass here an empty string. So the location will hold the current value of the input field, where users will type the location. Set location is the function we will use to update the location state. Initially, we set the state to an empty string, indicating that there is no location input by default. Now, instead of hard-coded location in the URL, we have to insert here a $, then curly braces, and we have to pass here the variable location. Okay, next we need a function to handle changes in the input field. This function will update the location state with whatever the user types. So I'm going to create function, let's call it handle input change. It's going to be an arrow function. We have to pass here an event object, and then I'm going to update the location using set location function. We need to pass here e.target.value. So this function will be called every time the user types something in the input field. The function takes an event object as an argument. This event object contains the information about the event, including the value of the input field. Inside the function, we use set location to update the location state with the current value of the input field. e.target.value gives us the value that the user has typed. This ensures that our location state always reflects the current input value. Now we need to connect our states and the handle input change function to the input field in our JSX. So here we have the input field, and we have to pass here attribute called value, which will be equal to location. And besides that, we need onChange event handler, which will be equal to handle input change. So value location binds the value of the input field to our location state. This means that the input field will always display the current value of location. Next, we have onChange event handler. We attach the handle input change function as an event handler to the input field. This function will be called every time the user types something, ensuring that the location state is updated with the current input value. So this binding makes our input field a controlled component, meaning its value is controlled by the React state. Finally, we want to clear the input field after a search is performed, so we should add here set location with an empty string. So we add this line to our search function to reset the location state to an empty string after the search is completed. By resetting the location state, we ensure that the input field is cleared out, ready for the user to enter a new location. So this enhances the user experience by providing immediate visual feedback that the search was successful and that the input field is ready for new input. Alright, so now we will update our JSX to dynamically display the weather data fetched from the OpenWeatherMap API. We will replace the hard-coded data with the actual data stored in our state. First, we need to display the name of the location for which we are fetching the weather data. We will update the location section to dynamically show the name of the city. So here we have hard-coded data. Let's delete Tbilisi and insert here data.name. So here we are accessing the name property from the data state object. The data state object holds all the weather information fetched from the API. The name property specifically contains the name of the location or city for which we have fetched the weather data. So by placing data.name inside the div, we are telling React to display the value of data.name dynamically. Whenever the data state updates, React will automatically re-render this part of the component to reflect the new location name. So let's go to the browser and test if it works fine. I'm going to search for any of the cities, let's say Paris. Click the icon. So here we go. We have here the updated location with the entered city name Paris. Let's enter another city name, let's say Tokyo. So everything works fine. All right. So next, we want to show the type of the weather in the specified location, such as clear, clouds, rain, and so on. We will update the weather type section to dynamically display this information. So right now we have here clear, the hard-coded text. Let's get rid of it. Then open curly braces and insert here the following code. So we need data.weather, then the ternary operator. So the first option is going to be data.weather with the index number 0. Then we need main. And then I'm going to add here the second option, which is going to be null. So this line of code uses conditional rendering to display the weather type. We are accessing the weather property from the data state object, which is an array containing weather information. If we take a look at the response, we'll get here weather, which is an array. Then we are accessing the first object in the weather array, and then we're accessing main, which has the value clouds. So again, the data weather array contains objects, each representing different weather conditions. Data weather with index number 0, then followed by the main, gives us the main weather description, such as clear or rain. The conditional expression checks if data weather exists. If it does, it displays the weather type, otherwise it displays null. So this ensures that the weather type is only displayed if the weather property is present in the data object, preventing any potential errors when the data is not available yet. This dynamic rendering ensures that the weather type is accurately displayed based on the fetched data. Now let's go ahead and check if it works fine. So I'm going to search for New York. Let's click the search icon, and here we go. We have here the updated location, New York, and then the weather type changed, and it is now clear. Let's search for, again, Paris. So in Paris, it is raining. All right, so finally, we have to update the temperature section to display the current temperature for the specified location. So here I'm going to open, again, curly braces. Then we need data.main followed by the ternary operator. We are using again the conditional rendering. Now I'm going to open template literal. Then we need curly braces. And inside the curly braces, I'm going to insert math.floor. Inside the parentheses, we need data.main.temp. Then I'm going to grab this Celsius sign. Let's insert it here. So it is a first option. Then we need colon followed by null. So here we are accessing the main property from the data state object, which contains temperature and other weather related information. Let's check again the response. So we need the temperature. So here we have it. We have here main property, which includes an object, and it includes temperature. All right, so data main temp gives us the current temperature in the specified location. The math.floor function is used to round down the temperature to the nearest whole number for a cleaner display. As you see, we have here some decimals, so we are rounding down the number. The conditional expression checks if data.main exists. If it does, then we display the rounded temperature followed by a degree symbol. Otherwise, it displays null. So this ensures that the temperature is only displayed if the main property is present in the data object, preventing any potential errors when the data is not available yet. By updating our JSX in this manner, we ensure that the location name, weather type, and temperature are all dynamically displayed based on the fetched weather data. This makes our weather widget functional and responsive to real-time data. So let's go ahead and check if it works fine. I'm going to search for Paris. Let's click the icon, and now we have an error, which is saying that math is not defined. Actually, we need here capital M. Now it should work. Let's go ahead and search for, let's say, Milan. So here we go. We have here updated location, then the weather type clear, and the temperature 21. Let's search for, I don't know, Berlin. So as you can see, in Berlin we have clouds and the temperature is 15 degrees Celsius. Alright, so everything works perfectly, and now we have to take care of the weather icon. Right now by default the sun is displayed. We have to make it dynamic depending on the weather. In this part we will add a function to determine and display the correct weather icon based on the current weather type. This will enhance the visual appeal and clarity of our weather widget. I'm going to create a function that uses a switch statement to determine which icon to display. So here I'm going to create function. It's going to be get weather icon. It should be an arrow function, and as the parameter I'm going to insert here weather type. So the weather type parameter is expected to be a string that represents the current weather condition, such as clear, rain, clouds, and so on. As I said, we're going to use switch statement. We need here weather type. So the switch statement is used to execute one block of code among many based on the value of the weather type. It is a control flow statement that evaluates an expression, in this case weather type, and matches it against multiple case clauses. So when a match is found, the corresponding block of code is executed. Now, inside the curly braces, we need the first case, and it is clear. Then we need return iElement with the class name bxs sun. So this case matches when weather type is clear. When the weather is clear, it returns an icon with the class bxsun, which represents a sun icon. In the same way, we have to define other cases. So I'm going to duplicate this code. The second case is going to be clouds, and the icon is going to be bxsun cloud. Let's duplicate again. Then we have rain, and the icon is going to be bxs cloud rain. Then the next case is thunderstorm. The icon is going to be cloud lightning. Then we will have case snow with the icon cloud snow. Let's duplicate again this code. The next case is going to be haze, and actually I'm going to add here another case. It's going to be mist. So these cases match when weather type is either haze or mist. For both haze and mist, we need here bxs cloud. Alright, finally we need here a default case, and by default I'm going to return this icon here. The default case is executed if none of the previous cases match the weather type. By default, it returns an icon with the class bxs cloud representing a cloud icon. So again, the getWeatherIcon function uses a switch statement to return the appropriate icon based on the weather type. This helps to visually represent the weather condition in our widget. Next, we need to use the getWeatherIcon function within our JSX to dynamically display the weather icon based on the data fetched from the API. So we have here the icon, the sun icon. Let's get rid of it. Then open curly braces, and we have to pass here the following code. We need data.weather, then AND operator, followed by data.weather with the index number 0, then again the AND operator, then we need the function getWeatherIcon, and as the argument I'm going to pass here data.weather, index number 0, followed by main. So this line of code uses conditional rendering to ensure that we only attempt to render an icon if the necessary data is available. So data.weather checks if the weather property exists in the data object. Then we have data.weather with the index number 0. It checks if the first element in the weather array exists. This element contains the main weather description that we need to determine the icon. Next, we call the getWeatherIcon function with the main weather description, the argument data.weather with index number 0 followed by main. This function returns the appropriate icon based on the weather type. So here the combined conditional check ensures that we only call getWeatherIcon when both data.weather and data.weather with the index number 0 are available. If either is missing, this part of the JSX will not render anything. By adding this code, we dynamically display the correct weather icon based on the fetched weather data. This makes our weather widget more informative and visually appealing. Now it's time to test how it works. So let's reload the page. Then I'm going to insert here Paris. So the icon is not visible here. Let's check the console. So we have here a typo. We need class name with double S's. Actually, we have here class name with single S everywhere. So let's fix that problem. So here we go. We have here the rain icon. Let's check Milan. So as you can see, the icon is changed. Let's search for Tokyo. In Tokyo we have rain. Alright, so everything works fine. So right now only the sun icon has its own color. We have to change the colors of other icons as well. Let's go to the weather.css file. So we have here weather data I element, the sun icon with its color. I'm going to duplicate this code 4 times. So the second icon is going to be bxs cloud. Let's change the color. It's going to be FFF. Then we will have cloud rain, and the color will be 5FD1F9. Then we have cloud lightning. We need color 154ABD, and the last icon is going to be cloud snow. Let's change the color. It's going to be 52E5E7. Okay, so as you can see, the rain icon has changed its color. Let's search for, North Pole. In North Pole we have clouds. Then I'm going to search for Barcelona. In Barcelona we have clear. Alright, so once the JSX is updated and the hard-coded data is replaced with the dynamic one, now I'm going to work on the default location that will be rendered always when the application loads. Right now, if we reload the page, then we'll have here just the location icon with input field. So we have to render the default location, and for that I'm going to use effect hook. So right after the state, I'm going to use effect. So we are using use effect to fetch the weather data for the default location when the component mounts. I'm going to insert here an arrow function as the first argument. Then we need a dependency array, which is going to be empty. So here I'm going to insert a function. Let's call it fetch default. We need here default location. It's going to be an asynchronous function. Inside the function, I'm going to create another variable, which is going to be a default location. In my case, I'm going to use the city where I live. It is Tbilisi. You can insert here any of the cities you want. Next, we need to define the URL. So actually, I'm going to copy this URL. Let's insert it here. Now, instead of location, we need default location. All other parameters inside the URL will remain the same. Next, we need to grab this line of code. And also, we need this line of code as well. And finally, we have to call fetch default location function. So again, as you remember, the use effect hook allows us to perform side effects in our functional component. It runs after the first render and after every update. By passing an empty array as the second argument, we tell React to run this effect only once after the initial render. Inside the use effect hook, we define an asynchronous function, fetch default weather, to fetch weather data for the default location. We define the variable default location with the value Tbilisi. This is the location for which we want to fetch the weather data initially. Then we construct the URL for the Open Weather Map API request. The URL includes the default location. Then we use again Axios to make a GET request to the API. The await keyword ensures that the code waits for the request to complete before proceeding. So once the data is fetched, we update our data state with the fetched weather data by calling setData function. So by adding this code, we ensure that the weather widget displays the weather information for Tbilisi when the component mounts. Let's go to the browser. So here we go. We have here a default location Tbilisi with the weather information. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is to consider the case when the location is not found. We will update our JSX to conditionally display the weather data or a not found message if the location is not found. So here we need to use try catch statement, which is used for error handling. So I'm going to add here try. Then I'm going to insert this variable inside the statement. So here we begin with a try block. The purpose of the try block is to contain the code that might throw an error. Next, we need to create an if statement in which we have to check response.data.code not equals to 200. If we take a look at the response, you will find down below code property with the value 200. So when we have the successful API call, then the value of the code is 200. If the data is not found, then we get here 404. All right. So here we check if the value of the code property is not equal to 200. If it is true, then we have to update data. And I'm going to insert here an object where we should create new property. It's going to be not found, and we have to make it true. After that, I'm going to use else statement, where we have to set data to response. Actually, let's grab this line of code. Actually, we need both lines of code. Let's grab them and paste them here. So After receiving the response, we check the status code within the response data. The code field in the response data indicates the status of the API call. A status code of 200 means the request was successful. And if the status code is not 200, we update our data state with an object containing not found equal to true. This will trigger our UI to display a not found message to the user. So if the status code is 200, we update our data state with the actual weather data from the response. We also reset the location state to an empty string, clearing the input field. Now we have to move on to the catch block. This block will execute if any errors occur within the try block. So we need here catch. Then I'm going to insert here error as the parameter. So the catch block takes an error parameter which contains details about the error. Now here we need if statement where we have to check the following condition: error.response followed by the AND operator. Then we need error.response.status equal to 404. So if this condition is true, then we need set data with again an object not found equal to true. So here we check if the error has a response and if the status code of the response is 404. A 404 status code means the requested resource was not found. In this case, we update our data state with not found property to indicate that the location was not found. Next, we need else statement, in which we have to log to the console the error using error method. We need here an unexpected error occurred, and we have to pass here second argument, which is going to be an error. So something's wrong here. Actually, we don't need this slash. Then we need catch statement, the catch block to be here. Now I think everything's correct, and yes. So here in the else statement, if the error is not a 404 error, we log it to the console with a message indicating that an unexpected error occurred. This helps us identify and troubleshoot other types of errors that might occur. By adding this try-catch block, we ensure that our application can handle both successful and unsuccessful API requests. Users will be informed if their requested location is not found, and any unexpected errors will be logged for further investigation. Now, the next thing that we have to do is to update the JSX accordingly. So again, we have to display the not found message if the location was not found. Here, I'm going to open curly braces, where we have to check if not found property is true or false. So we need data.notFound followed by the ternary operator. And then we need to pass here new developments, which will include text not found. Also, I'm going to insert here some emoji. We need to press a Windows key with period, and then we can select any of the emojis we want. Let's select this one. So if not found is true, then we render not found message, and if it is false, then we have to display this entire code here. Let's grab it and paste it here. So again, we check here whether data not found is true or false. If it is true, it renders the not found message. If it is false, it renders the weather information. Now, let's go to the browser. I'm going to enter here some dummy characters. Let's click. And here we go. We have here not found message. I'm going to customize this message slightly. So let's go ahead and select here. Actually, we need to add here a class name. it's going to be not found. Then select this element using class name not found and add here some styles. I'm going to set font family to Comforta sans serif. Then we need font size to be 1.6 rem. Also, I'm going to change the color. Let's make it DDD. And finally, we need margin bottom with value 12 rem. Now let's enter here again some dummy characters. So here we go. We have here not found message, which looks much more nicer. Alright, so before we finish this lecture, I'm going to add one more feature to our weather widget. Right now we search the location by clicking the search icon, and I want to search the location by pressing the enter key as well. For that, we have to create a new function, and it's going to be handle key down. We need here an arrow function with an event object. So inside the function, I'm going to use if statement where we have to check if e.key is equal to enter. If it is true, then we have to call search function. So here we are defining a new function, handle key down. This function takes an event object as a parameter. The event object contains information about the event that triggered the function. In this case, it is a keyboard event. Inside the function, we check if the key that was pressed is the enter key or not. The e.key property contains the value of the key that was pressed. If the enter key was pressed, then we call the search function. The search function, as you know, is responsible for fetching weather data based on the user's input and updating the state with the fetch data. Next, we need to add the onKeyDown event handler to our input element. So we need here onKeyDown event handler, and we have to pass here the function handle key down. Now, whenever a key is pressed while the input element is focused, the handle key down function will be called. So if we enter here the city name, let's say Paris, and press the enter key, then we'll get here the weather information. So adding the onKeyDown event handler to our input element improves the user experience by allowing users to initiate a search by simply pressing the enter key. Alright, let's take a moment to recap what we have accomplished in this session. First, we introduced the OpenWeatherMap API and explained how to use it to fetch weather data. We then implemented the functionality to fetch the default weather for a specified location when the widget loads. We also implemented the search functionality, allowing users to enter a location and retrieve the weather information for that specific place. We added error handling to ensure our application can manage cases where the location is not found. Additionally, we enhanced the user experience by enabling the enter key functionality for our search input. So overall, we transformed our static weather widget into a fully functional interactive component that fetches and displays real-time weather data based on user input. Now we're diving into a new and equally exciting component, the calendar. A well-designed calendar can significantly enhance the user experience by providing an organized view of dates. We'll start by laying out the basic structure in JSX, and then we'll move on to styling it with CSS to make it visually appealing and user-friendly. So without further ado, let's get started on building our calendar component. Actually, we already have calendar component, which right now is almost empty. We have here just a single div element. Let's get rid of this text from here, and I'm going to insert div element with the class name navigate date. Inside the div element, we'll have two heading elements. The first one will be for month. At first, I'm going to insert here a hard-coded data. So we have here July. Then after that, I'm going to open H2 heading element again, and it's going to be for year. Let's insert here 2024. After that, I'm going to open div element with the class name buttons. This div element will include 2 buttons for navigating the dates. In this case, I'm going to use box icons library. So let's open I element with the classes bx, chevron left, and then we need chevron right. After that, I'm going to open another div element. It's going to be weekdays. We need here span elements. Let's insert Sunday. Then I'm going to duplicate this line of code 6 times. And then quickly change the weekdays. We need Monday. Actually, we need Monday with capital M. Then we need here Tuesday, Wednesday. Then we have Thursday, Friday, and finally Saturday. All right, so after the weekdays, we need days. Let's open here again this span element, and I'm going to insert here numbers from 1 through 31. So let's duplicate this span element 30 times, and then quickly change the numbers. All right, so that's it about the JSX. All the elements are created. So here we have the JSX elements. Actually, we need here July. I have a typo. All right, so that's it about the JSX. I'm going to open calendar.css file. Let's move it on the right side. Actually, I'm going to close those files. So we have here a couple of different styles for calendar, which is the wrapper div element. I'm going to add to these elements some more styles. We need padding equal to 1.5 rem on all 4 sides. And then I'm going to place the content of the calendar in the center. And in this case, let's use CSS grid. We need display grid and then place items center. Okay, so as you can see, the content is placed in the center. Next, I'm going to start to customize the second development in this component. It is navigate date. So I'm going to select this element. First of all, let's define its width. It's going to be 100%. Then I'm going to use CSS flags box. We need display flags. Then we have to align items in the center. I mean, we have to place the flex items vertically in the center. Next, we need justify content with the value space between. It will create space between the flex items. Also, I'm going to create gap using column gap with the value 1 rem. Next, I'm going to create some space on the left side using padding left 1 rem. And finally, let's create some space at the bottom using margin bottom 1.5 rem. All right, after that, I'm going to customize the headings. So let's go ahead and select navigate date, followed by the H2 heading element. So I'm going to increase the font size. Let's set it to 2 rem. Then we need font weight to be 300. And also let's set color to BBB. Okay, so that's it about the headings. Next, I'm going to take care of the buttons. Let's select the wrapper development with the class name buttons. I'm going to use flexbox to align the buttons. Let's set display to flex. Next, we need column gap to be 1 rem. And also, we need here column gap 1 rem. And then we need to use margin left with the value auto. So as you can see, now the headings are placed on the left side. As for the buttons, they are placed on the right side. Okay, so after that, I'm going to customize the icons. Let's select buttons followed by the eye element. Let's set width and height, both of them to 3.5 rem. Then I'm going to use again Flexbox. Let's place the icons in the center of the boxes. So we need here justify content center and align items center. Then I'm going to change the background color. It's going to be 2C3542. Let's check the results. So as you can see, we have here those boxes and the icons are placed in the center of those boxes. That's why I used here Flexbox with justify content center and align items center. Next, I'm going to make those boxes rounded. So we need border radius with the value of 50%. Then let's increase the font size, make it 2 rem. Also change the color. I'm going to use here B88EFC. And finally, we need cursor to be pointer. Alright, so that's it about the buttons. Next, I'm going to take care of the weekdays. So let's go ahead and select weekdays. Let's set width to 100%. Then we need Flexbox. And I'm going to set margin to 1 rem at the top and bottom sides and 0 on the left and right sides. Alright, after that I'm going to customize the span elements. As you see, we have here 7 span elements for the weekdays. Let's go ahead and select weekdays followed by the span element. I'm going to set width to calc function and the calculation will be following. We need 100% divided by 7. We have 7 days, that's why I divide 100% to 7. Then I'm going to set font size to 1.3 rem. Next we need font weight to be lighter, let's set it to 300. Also I'm going to transform text to uppercase. Then I'm going to change the color, let's make it 78879E. Let's check the results. So here we have the weekdays. Now I'm going to create some space using letter spacing. Let's set it to 2.1 rem, and then, as you guessed, we have to place them in the center. So for that, I'm going to use again Flexbox. We need display flex and then justify content center, which allows us to center the flex items horizontally. So now they are aligned nicely. All right. Finally, we have to take care of the days. Let's go ahead and select the wrapper. I'm going to use again Flexbox. Then in order to align the days on different lines, we have to use flex wrap with the value wrap. And finally, I'm going to set width to 100%. Okay, after that, we need to customize the span elements. So let's go ahead and select days, followed by the span element. I'm going to set font size to 1.3 rem. Actually, at first, I'm going to define the width. Let's set width to again calc function. Then we need 100% divided by 7. We need the same calculation that we used in case of weekdays. After that, I'm going to use aspect ratio and I'm going to set it to 1. So in this case, the width and height of the span elements will be always the same. After that, let's take care of the font. Actually, we define font size, then I'm going to define the color. Let's set it to DDT. Let's check the results. So as you can see, the days are aligned. We have to place them in the center. We have to place them along the weekdays. So let's go ahead and use Flexbox. We need display flex. Then we need justify content center and align items center. Okay, so the days are aligned nicely. Next, I'm going to change the cursor. Let's make it pointer. Let's check the result. So as you can see, the days are aligned nicely and we have here cursor, pointer. Now the last thing that we have to do is to make the current day different. We have to customize the current day. So I'm going to add to the span elements class name current day. Right now it is a hard-coded data, but we'll make it dynamic in the next lecture. So let's go ahead and select current day. Then I'm going to increase the font size. It's going to be 2 rem. Then I'm going to change color of the text. Let's make it white. Also, I'm going to change the background. Let's use here some gradient effects using linear gradient function. The direction of the color transition is going to be to right. As for the colors, the first color will be this one. As for the second color, I'm going to make it 6877 F4. And finally, we need to make the current day rounded using border radius with the value 50%. Alright, so as you can see, the current day is customized. Actually, the font size is not bigger than the other days. Let's add here, important, and check the results. So now the problem is fixed. Alright, great job everyone. We have now completed the creation and customization of our calendar component. We started by building the basic structure of our calendar in JSX, ensuring that it has all the necessary elements to display dates. Then we moved on to styling and customizing the component to make it visually appealing and relevant with the rest of our application. Our calendar is now ready to display dates in an organized manner, enhancing the overall user experience of our application. So in the upcoming lecture, we will add functionality to our calendar, enabling users to interact with it seamlessly. Now we're going to take things a step further by making our calendar functional. This means adding the ability to navigate through different months and years and dynamically generating the days based on the current date. We'll be diving deep into the logic and state management needed to achieve this, so let's go ahead and get started. To begin making our calendar functional, we need to start by defining some variables, also the state variables, that will help us manage the current date and the display of days and months. First, we need to define 2 arrays, days of week and months of year. These arrays will contain the names of the days and months respectively. These variables will be used to display the correct day and month names in our calendar. So let's go ahead and create variable days of week. As I said, it's going to be an array, and we have to pass here the weekdays starting from Sunday. Then we'll have Monday, then Tuesday, the next one will be Wednesday, then we'll have Thursday, the next one will be Friday, and finally we need Saturday. Alright, so that's it about the first array. Next I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be month of year. Again, it's going to be an array, and we have to pass here the month. So let's go ahead and start with January. Then we need February. The next one is March. Then we have April, May. The next one is June, July, August, September. The next one is October. Then we need November, and finally December. Alright, so that's it about the second array. Next, we need to create a current date variable using the data object. This will give us the current date and time. So let's go ahead and create a new variable. I'm going to call it current date, and it should be equal to new data object. So the date object in JavaScript provides methods to get various parts of the date, such as the current month, year, day, and so on. By creating a new date instance, we obtain the current date and time, which we will use to initialize our state variables. Now we have to define 2 state variables, current month and current year. So let's go ahead and create state variable let's call it current month. Then we need updater function, set current month. It's going to be equal to useDate hook, and as the default value, I'm going to pass here current date dot get month. Also, we have to import useDate from React. All right, so the current month state variable holds the current month as a number between 0 and 11, where 0 represents January and 11 represents December. We initialize it with current date getMonth function, which extracts the current month from the current date object. Next, we have to create another state variable, and it's going to be current year. We need here an updater function, set current year. It should be equal to useDate, and as the default value, I'm going to pass here current date dot get full year. Similarly, the current year state variable holds the current year as a 4-digit number, for example 2024. We initialize it with current date get full year method, which extracts the current year from the current date object. The set current month and set current year functions allow us to update the values of current month and current year when the user navigates through different months and years. By setting up these state variables, we ensure that our calendar component can dynamically display the current month and year and update the display as the user interacts with the calendar. So now I'm going to run to the console both state variables. Let's insert here current month and then current year. Let's go to the browser. I'm going to inspect the page. Let's switch to the console tab. So as you can see, we have here 6 and 2024. 6 is the index number of the current month. July is the 7th month of the year. And since the months have 0-based index numbers, that's why we have here 6. Now we have to calculate the total number of days in the current month. For that, we have to access the last day of the current month. The current month right now is July, and the last day of July is 31st. Therefore, it means that in July we have 31 days. That's the logic that we will use here. So let's go ahead and create new variable. It's going to be days in month, and it's going to be equal to new date. I'm going to pass here current year. Then we need current month plus 1. And finally, we need 0. And then we need get date function. So the date constructor in JavaScript can accept multiple parameters: year, month, day, hour, minute, second, and millisecond. By providing year, month, and day parameters, we can create a date object representing a specific day in a specific month of a specific year. So here, current year is a state variable that we initialize to represent the current year. Next, we have current month plus 1. The current month state variable holds the current month as a 0 indexed value. By adding 1, we move to the next month. This is a clever trick to find the last day of the current month by moving to the next month and setting the day parameter to 0. So here the third parameter, 0, tells JavaScript to go back 1 day from the first day of the next month. This effectively lands us on the last day of the current month. So suppose the current month is July, which is 6 as 0 indexed, and the current year is 2024. By passing current month plus 1, we get new date 2024, 7 and 0, which translates to July 31, 2024. Next, we have the getDate method. It returns the day of the month for the specified date. For the last day of the month, this will give us the total number of days in that month. For July 31st, getDate returns 31. The result of the getDate method, which is the total number of days in the current month, is assigned to the days in month variable. So in summary, this line calculates the number of days in the current month by creating a date object for the last day of the current month and then extracting the day of the month from that date object. This approach ensures that the calculation accounts for varying month lengths and leap years. Now I'm going to add here this variable, I mean days in month, and let's see in console, what do we have? So as you can see, we have here 31 as the value of days in month variable. The next thing that we have to do is to calculate the day of the week for the first day of the current month. So I'm going to create another variable, and it's going to be first day of month. It should be equal to new date, and we have to pass here 3 parameters. The first one is going to be again current year. Then I'm going to pass here current month, and finally we need here 1, followed by the getDay method. Okay, so this line of code determines the day of the week for the first day of the current month and assigns it to the variable first day of month inside the new date object. By providing year, month, and day parameters, we can create a date object representing the first day of a specific month in a specific year. So the first parameter, current year, again is a state variable that we initialized to represent the current year. Next we have current month. It is state variable as well, and it holds the current month as a 0 indexed value. Finally we have 1, and it represents the first day of the month. So suppose the current month is July and the current year is 2024. By passing these values we get new date 2024, 6 and 1, which translates to July 1st, 2024. The getDay method returns the day of the week for the specified date as a number. For example, 0 for Sunday, 1 for Monday, and so on. For July 1, 2024, getDay method might return 1, indicating Monday. The result of the getDay method, which is the day of the week for the first day of the current month, is assigned to the first day of month variable. Now I'm going to check in the console first day of month variable. Let's open console tab. So as you can see, we have here 1, and it is an index number of Monday. So the 1st of July was Monday, and actually it is correct. All right, so since we have defined the number of days of the current month and the first day of the month, now we can replace the hard-coded data with the dynamic one step by step. Let's go ahead and start with current month and year. So as you can see, we have here July and 2024. Let's change this hard-coded data. Instead of July, I'm going to pass here months of year, and then as the index number, I'm going to insert here current month. The current month state variable holds the current month as a number ranging from 0 to 11. 0 means January and 11 means December. By using current month as the index, we access the corresponding month name from the months of year array. I mean this array here. For example, if current month is 6, this will access months of year 6, which is July. Now I'm going to change this hard-coded data as well. We need to insert here current year. So the current year state variable holds the current year as a 4-digit number. This code dynamically displays the current year using the current year state variable. Now, if we check the browser, then we'll get here July and the year 2024. But in this case, this data is dynamic. So next we have to render the weekdays and days in the calendar dynamically. As you know, right now we have here just hard-coded span elements, and we have to replace them with the dynamic data. So let's open here curly braces, in which I'm going to pass days of week. Then we need map function, in which I'm going to insert callback function with the parameter day. Map is an array method that creates a new array populated with the results of calling a provided function on every element in the calling array. In this case, it iterates over each day in the days of week array. So now I'm going to return the span element. Let's grab one of these span elements. We need here key prop with the value day. And then instead of this hard-coded text, I'm going to insert here day again. Then let's get rid of those span elements. So here, the span element is returned for each day in the days of week array. We have here key prop, and as you remember, the key prop is a special attribute in React. It helps React identify which items have changed, are added, or are removed. Keys should be given to the elements inside the array to give the elements a stable identity. Here, day is used as the key since each day of the week is unique within the array. Next, we have day. This is a placeholder that inserts the value of day into the span. For example, if day is Sunday, it will render span with key Sunday and with the text Sunday. So now, if we check the results, you will see that we have here weekdays, but right now they are rendered as the dynamic data. All right. So now we have to render the days of the month dynamically. We need two things here. At first, we have to render the empty span elements because, as you know, the 1st of July is Monday. Therefore, we have to display one empty span for Sunday. I mean, this day here should be empty. So in order to achieve that, I'm going to insert here curly braces. Then we need an array with spread operator. Next, we need array constructor function. And as the argument, I'm going to insert here first day of month. So array is a constructor that creates an array of a given length. First day of month is a number representing the day of the week the first day of the month falls on. For example, 0 for Sunday, 1 for Monday, and so on. So here, array method creates an array with first day of month number of elements, all of which are initially undefined. The spread operator is used to spread out the elements of the array. This creates a shallow copy of the array, so you can use it for further operations. Next, we need to add here a method called keys. The keys method returns a new array iterator object that contains the keys, indexes for each index in the array. Since the array was created with first day of month number of elements, keys provides an iterator with indexes from 0 to first day of month minus 1. By using the spread operator on the iterator returned by keys, you convert it back into an array of indexes. This array contains numbers from 0 to first day of month minus 1. In our case, just one item because we have only one empty day in July. Next, we need to add here map function with a callback function, and here I'm going to insert two parameters. The first one is going to be an underscore, and then we need index. So in this context, map function is used to iterate over the array of indexes. The first parameter represents the current element, which is not used in this case, so it is named underscore to indicate that it is unused. The second parameter, index, is the index of the current element in the array. And now we have to return span element, in which we need key prop with the following value. I'm going to open template literal, then let's insert empty dash, and then we need index. Let's get rid of one. So for each index, the arrow function returns an empty span element. The key prop is set to a unique value empty index to help React identify which items have changed, are added, or are removed. Now, if we check the browser, you'll find that the first day in July is empty. All right, so everything works perfectly. Now we have to dynamically generate and display the days of the current month in a calendar. So I'm going to open again curly braces. Then we need array followed by the spread operator. And again, I'm going to use array constructor. Let's insert here days in month. Days in month is a variable that holds the number of days in the current month. So this code creates a new array with days in month elements. However, all these elements are undefined. Now we need again keys method. Actually, we need here keys. So again, the keys method on the array returns a new array iterator object that contains the keys, the indexes for each index in the array. For an array of length 31, this iterator will contain the numbers from 0 through 30. The spread operator converts the array iterator returned by keys into an array of indexes. So this code will result in an array like 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way through 30. Now again, I'm going to use map function. Then we need a callback function with the parameter day. And I'm going to return here span elements. Let's copy span element. Insert it here. We need again key prop. And the value is going to be day plus 1. As for the content of the span element, we need here again day plus 1. And then we have to remove all those span elements. Let's get rid of them. So here, for each index or day, a new span element is created. We have key prop with the value day plus 1. Here, day plus 1 is used as the key to ensure the uniqueness. Since day starts from 0, adding 1 makes it 1 through 31, corresponding to the days of the month. Then the content inside the span element is day plus 1. Since day starts at 0, adding 1 converts it to a human-readable day number from 1 through 31. Now if we check the results, we'll get here the days of the month, and now they are rendered here as the dynamic data. As you can notice, we no longer have here the current day, and we'll fix that in a minute. So now we have to define the class name of the span element. I'm going to write the code and then I will explain everything. So we need here class name, which should be equal to curly braces. And I'm going to insert here a couple of different conditions. The first one will be day plus 1 equal to current dates dot get date. Next we need an operator, and the second condition, which is going to be current month equal to current dates dot get month. Then we need again an operator, and the third condition, which is going to be current year. Actually, we need here current year equal to current date dot get full year. Then we need a ternary operator, and now we have to define the class name, which is going to be current day. As for the second option, it's going to be an empty string. Okay, so the purpose of this code is to conditionally apply a CSS class current day to the span element representing the current day in the calendar. This allows us to style the current day differently from other days, typically to highlight it. So the first condition here is day plus 1 equal to current date dot get date method. The day variable here is 0 base because it is generated by the arrays keys method, which starts counting from 0. Adding 1 to day converts it to a 1 based index, which matches the actual day of the month. For example, if day is 0, day plus 1 will be 1, which represents the first day of the month. Next we have current date.getDate method. This method returns the day of the month for the current date. So this condition checks if the day represented by the span element is the same as the current day of the month. Next we have the second condition, where current month is equal to current date dot get month function. So here current month is a state variable that holds the current month of the calendar being displayed as an integer. As for the second part of the condition, it is current date dot get month function. This method returns the current month. So this condition, the second condition, checks if the month of the calendar being displayed matches the current month. Next we have the third condition, current year equals current date get full year. So here current year is a state variable that holds the current year of the calendar being displayed as a 4-digit number. The second part of the condition is current date get full year method. This method returns the current year, for example 2024. So the third condition checks if the year of the calendar being displayed matches the current year. The three conditions are combined using the logical AND operator. This means all three conditions must be true for the entire expression to evaluate to true. The day represented by this span element must match the current day of the month of the calendar being displayed must match the current month, and the year of the calendar being displayed must match the current year. If they are true, it means that we have the current day, and therefore the class name will be current day if any of the conditions. If they are true, then it means that we have the current day, and therefore the class name will be current day. If any of the condition is false, then the entire expression is false, and therefore this span element doesn't have any additional class name. So if we check the results, we'll get here the current day highlighted differently from other span elements, from other days. Alright, so now we're going to add navigation functionality to our calendar component. This will allow users to move back and forth through the months. We will do this by defining two functions, previous month and next month. The previous month function will be designed to navigate to the previous month in the calendar. So let's go ahead and create a function called prev month. It should be equal to an arrow function. Now we have to update current month using setCurrentMonth function. I'm going to insert here a callback function with a parameter prev month, and we have to return the following conditional statement. So we need here prev month equal to 0, followed by the ternary operator. The first option is going to be 11, and then we need prev month -1. So here first we use the setCurrentMonth function to update the current month state variable. The prev month parameter represents the current month before the state update. The condition prev month equals 0 checks if the current month is January, which is represented by 0. If it is January, it sets the month to December, which is represented by 11. Otherwise, it simply decrements the month by 1. So again, if the current month is January, then we set current month to December, and if not, then we simply decrement the month by 1. Now, I'm going to add here set current year function. Let's insert here again a callback function with the parameter prev year. We need to return again a conditional statement in which we have to check current month equal to 0. Then we need a ternary operator, and then we need prev year -1. As for the second option, it's going to be prev year. So here we use the setCurrentYear function to update the current year state variable. The condition checks if the current month is January. If it is January, it decrements the year by 1 because moving to the previous month would change the year. Otherwise, it keeps the year unchanged. Alright, now I'm going to create next month function, which will allow us to navigate to the next month in the calendar. So actually, I'm going to duplicate this code and make here some changes. We need here next month. Then we need set current month, prev month. Then we need prev month equal to 11. first option is going to be 0, and then we need prev month plus 1 because we are navigating to the next month. As for the set current year function, we need here prev year current month equal to 11. Then we need here prev year plus 1 because we have to navigate to the next year. As for the second option, we need prev year. So let's quickly explain this code as well. We use set current month function to update the current month state variable. The prev month parameter represents the current month before the state update. The condition checks if the current month is December, which is represented by 11. If it is December, it sets the month to January, which is represented by 0. Otherwise, it simply increments the month by 1. The second function, set current year function, is used to update the current year state variable. The condition checks if the current month is December. If it is December, it increments the year by 1 because moving to the next month would change the year. Otherwise, it keeps the year unchanged. Alright, so after that, we have to add onClick event handlers to the buttons in the calendar. I mean those two buttons here. So we need onClick. Then we need to pass here the functions. So for the first button, I'm going to insert here prev month. As for the second button, we need next month. Alright, so now if we go to the browser and click the buttons, then we will navigate to back and forth. So as you can see, everything works perfectly. Now we're going to focus on another part of our project, which is the footer. A well-designed footer not only provides essential information, but also enhances the overall look and feel of our application. So let's dive in and start building our footer. Right now, we have just a single footer element here with a text footer. I'm going to get rid of this text. And then inside the footer element, I'm going to open paragraph, in which I'm going to insert span element with the text, news, and blogs up. Then after the paragraph, I'm going to open another one, in which I'm going to insert some copyright text. We need HTML5 entity to display the copyright sign. So we need here ampersand copy followed by the semicolon, and then we need the text all rights reserved by code and create. Alright, so that's it about the JSX content of the footer. Here we have both paragraphs. Next, I'm going to add here some more styles. I mean, add the styles to the footer element. So I'm going to add here display flags. We're going to align the elements using flexbox. Then we need align items center in order to center the elements vertically, and then we need justify content space between in order to create space between the flex items. And finally, let's create some space inside the footer using padding. We need padding 0 at the top and bottom sides and 4rem on the left and right sides. So as you can see, the elements are aligned nicely, and now we have to style those paragraphs. Let's go ahead and select news footer followed by the P elements. I'm going to set font size to 1.4 rem. Then we need font weight to be, actually we need here font weight is going to be lighter 300, and then change the color, make it BBB. So as you can see, the paragraphs are styled. I want different styles for the span element, which is placed in the first paragraph. So let's go ahead and select news footer followed by the P element, and then we need span. I'm going to change the font family. It's going to be BBAS New E, sans serif, and then I'm going to change the font size. Let's make it 2 rem. Alright, so as you can see, the span element is styled, and actually that's it about the footer. So great work everyone, we have successfully created and styled our footer. adding another essential part to our application and giving it a more polished and complete look. Now we're going to start working on a new and exciting section of our project, the block section. This section will allow users to create, view, edit, and delete blog posts, adding a dynamic and interactive element to our application. Before we dive into the coding part, let's take a quick overview of the blog section in the finished project. In the final version of our application, users can navigate to the blog section by clicking on the user image located on the main page. This intuitive navigation ensures easy access to the blog section, where users can start creating and managing their posts. Once you're in the blog section, you will see two main buttons. The first button, labeled Create New Post, allows users to initiate the creation of a new blog post. The second button, Back, enables users to easily navigate back to the new section, ensuring smooth transitions between different parts of the application. When users decide to create a new post, a form will appear with three fields, one for uploading an image, one for entering the title of the blog post, and one for writing the text of the post. This form is designed to be user-friendly and straightforward, making it easy for anyone to create a new blog post. After a post is created, it is displayed on the main blog page, where users can view it in detail. Each blog post comes with a model that provides a detailed view, allowing users to read the full content of the post. Additionally, we have implemented functionalities to edit and delete posts, giving users full control over their content. To edit a post, users simply need to click the Edit button associated with the specific post they want to update. This action will navigate them back to the form in editing mode, where the existing content will be pre-filled. Users can then make the necessary changes and save the post. This seamless transition to the editing mode ensures a smooth and efficient editing process. The delete feature enables users to remove posts they no longer want, maintaining a clutter-free blog section. These features make our blog section a robust and user-friendly part of our application. Now let's move on to the coding part. We will start by creating the JSX content for our blogs component, and then we will style and customize it to match the overall design of our application. So let's get started. The first thing that I'm going to do is to create a new component in the components folder. It's going to be blogs.jsx, in which I'm going to create a new functional component. Next, I'm going to open up.jsx file, and here I'm going to import newly created component. We need here blogs, and then again blocks. Next, I'm going to comment this component out and insert here blocks. Now, if we go to the browser, we will get here just the background, dark background of the news blog app. Actually, we need here news blogs app. Let's change the class name here as well. We need news blogs app. I had the typo. Okay, so as I said, now we have here just the dark background, and I'm going to create the JSX and then customize these elements here in the blogs.jsx file. So let's close those files. I'm going to get rid of this text from here. Let's add the class name to the first development inside this functional component. So we need here blogs. Then I'm going to open another development. It's going to be blogs left, in which I'm going to insert image. Then I'm going to import image from the images folder. Actually, we need here import. I'm going to call the image user image. We need here the path of the file. We have to exit the current folder. Then we have to access assets folder. Then we need images. And finally, we need the name of the image. It's going to be user.jpg. Okay, now we have to define the source. We need the curly braces and the name of the image, user img. Now if I check the browser, you will find here the image of the user, which right now is too bigger, but we'll take care of that in a minute. As the alt attribute, I'm going to insert here user image. After that, I'm going to create new development, and it's going to be blocks right. I'm in the right part of the block section. So here we will have two buttons. The first one is going to be for creating new post. So I'm going to add here the class name post btn. As the content, I'm going to insert here create new post. And then we need second button. Back button. We will use this button to navigate back to the new section. So I'm going to open button with the class name blocks, close btn, and then I'm going to insert here back, followed by the box icon. Let's add I element with the classes bx, then again bx, followed by chevron right. Let's check the browser. So we have here image and two buttons, create new post and back. Okay, so I think that's it about the JSX. Now I'm going to create a new file in the components folder, and I'm going to call it blocks.css. Then I'm going to move this file to the right side. Let's close calendar.css file. Now here we need to import CSS file. Let's specify here the path of the file. We need blocks.css. Okay, so now I'm going to select the first development with the class name blocks. Let's define width and height. The width is going to be 100%. As for the height, I'm going to make it 100% as well. And also we need display flags. It will allow us to place the left and right parts side by side horizontally. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, we have here left part and the right part. In the left part we have the image of the user. As for the right part we have two buttons. Okay, so after that I'm going to select user image because right now it's too bigger, so I'm going to make it smaller. Let's select blocks left followed by the image element. Actually we don't need this bar here. So I'm going to define the width is going to be 15 rem, and then I'm going to use aspect ratio. Let's set it to 1. It means that the width and height will always be the same for image, and also we need to fit the image using object fit cover. Okay, so as you can see the image became smaller. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is to customize blocks left development. So let's select this element. First of all, I'm going to define the width and height. The width is going to be 50%. It will take up the half of the elements, the blocks development. Next we need height. It's going to be 100%. And now we have to define the background. We have to add image as the background, but before that I'm going to use linear gradient function. The colors will be RGBA values. The first one will be 184, then 142, then 252, and the opacity 0.3. As for the second RGBA color, it's going to be 104, then 119, then 244, and the opacity 0.2. Next we have to define the URL of the image. So we have to exit the current folder. Then we have to access assets folder. Then we need images folder and bg.jpg. Also, I'm going to define the position as center, and then we need no repeat. Finally, I'm going to use background size. Let's make it cover. Okay, so as you can see, we have here nice and cool background. The image background. The next thing that I'm going to do is to make the corners rounded. So we need here border radius. We need to make the top left and bottom left corners rounded. Therefore, the values will be 1 rem, 0, 0, and again 1 RAM. So, as you can see, the corner is rounded. Right now, the top left corner ended up behind the image. That's why we don't see here the rounded corner. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to take care of the position of the image. And also we have to customize it slightly. Let's add here border radius 50% because we have to make the image rounded. Next we need border with the value is 0.3 RAM, solid, and the color will be 6877 F4. Then I'm going to change the position of the image. Let's set position to absolute. We need position relative for the parent element because we have to align image according to the parent element. So we need here position relative. So as you can see, the image became rounded, and also we have here nice and cool border. Let's change the position. So we need here top position to be 50%. We have to center the image vertically, so we need here transform, translate Y with the value minus 50%. As for the right position, I'm going to make it minus 7.5 RAM. It's the half of the width of the image. So as you can see, now the image is positioned nicely, and we have to take care of the right side. So let's go ahead and select blocks right. First of all, I'm going to define the width and height. So the width is going to be 50%. Then we need height, it's going to be 100%. Then we need flexbox, display flex. And we have to place the content in the center. So we need justify content center and align item center. Okay, so as you can see, both buttons ended up in the center of the right part of the block section. So now I'm going to take care of the back button. Let's select this element. We need here blocks, close, btn. First of all, I'm going to take care of its position. We need position absolute. Then we need position relative for the parent element, which is blocks right. So we need here position relative. The top position of the button is going to be 3 RAM. As for the right position, I'm going to make it 2.5 RAM. Let's check the browser. So as you can see, the button is positioned nicely. Next, I'm going to get rid of the default background. So I'm going to set background to transparent. Then I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's make it none. Also change the font family. I'm going to use font called BBAS New E. Actually, we need here BBAS New E. Sans serif. Then we need font size to be 3 RAM. And also let's change the color. Let's make it DDD. Okay, so the button looks pretty nice. I'm going to place this icon in the center vertically. So we need to use display flex. Then align items center. And also I'm going to change cursor. Let's make it pointer. Okay, so now the button looks pretty nice. I'm going to increase slightly the font size of the icon. So let's go ahead and select blocks, close, btn, followed by the I element. Let's set font size to 4 RAM. Now, I think the button looks pretty nice. Alright, so next we have to take care of the second button, create new post. Let's go ahead and select this button. We need post btn. Let's define the width. In this case, I'm going to use clamp function. I hope you remember how this function works. So we need here 3 parameters. The first one is going to be the minimum value, 15 RAM. Then we need preferred value, it's going to be 16 CQI. And then we need the maximum value, it's going to be 30 RAM. Then I'm going to set aspect ratio to 4/1. It means that the width of the button will be 4 times bigger than the height. If we check the results, you will see here the size of the button, and as you can see, the width of the button is 4 times bigger than the height. Next, I'm going to change the background. Let's use here linear gradient function. We need the direction of the color transition to right. Then the first color is going to be 688 EFC. As for the second color, I'm going to make it 6877 F4. Actually, we might have the mistake. We need here 6, not 6, but B88 EFC. Now let's check. As you can see, we have here nice and cool gradient effect. Okay, next I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's make it none, and also make the button rounded using border radius. It's going to be 5 rem. Also, I'm going to change the font family. Let's set font family to Canit. Actually, Canit is the default font, therefore I'm going to get rid of this property from here. Next, I'm going to change the font size. Let's make it 2.5 rem. Then we need font weight to be bold. And then I'm going to make the text uppercase. Also change the color. Let's make it white. And check the results. So as you can see, the button looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to add a little shadow effect to the font using text shadow. The values will be 0.5 rem, 1 rem, and as the color, I'm going to use RGBA. We need here black color with the opacity 0.2. And finally, let's add here cursor pointer. Okay, so the button looks pretty nice. The last thing that I'm going to do here in this lecture is to create a clicking effect. For that, I'm going to select postbtn followed by the active pseudo class. Then we need transform followed by the translate y function, and the value is going to be 0.2 rem. Now, if I click the button, we'll get here this nice and cool clicking effect. Okay, so great job, everyone. We have successfully created the JSX content for our blocks component and styled it to match the overall design of our application. This marks the beginning of our dynamic block section, which will allow users to create, view, edit, and delete blog posts. In the next lecture, we will continue customizing the block section, particularly the form. We'll create a JSX content for the form to submit the post. Then after that, building on this foundation, we will start implementing the functionality for creating and managing blog posts. Now we're going to build on that foundation by creating a form within the blog section. This form will allow users to create new blog posts by entering the necessary details such as the title, text, and image. We'll focus on creating the form's JSX content and then styling and customizing it to ensure it integrates seamlessly with the rest of our application. We'll have a fully styled and customized form ready for use in our blog section. So let's dive in and get started. I'm going to comment the button out, and here I'm going to create div element, which is going to be blocks right form. It's going to be a wrapper of the form. I'm going to add here h1 heading element with the text new post. Then after h1 heading element, I'm going to open form element. Let's get rid of action attribute. Inside the form, we'll have a couple of different elements. The first one is going to be div element with the class name image upload, in which I'm going to create a label with the class name file upload. And besides that, we need here HTML for attribute. It's going to be file upload. Okay, so now inside the label, I'm going to insert I element with the classes bx upload, and this element will be followed by the text upload image. Alright, so after the label, I'm going to insert here input element with the type file. This type of input element allows us to upload the files. So we need here ID attribute, and the ID attribute should match the HTML4 attribute. So we need here file upload. Okay, so after that, I'm going to insert here input element with the type text. Let's add here placeholder attribute, and it's going to be add title. Then inside the parentheses, I'm going to insert max 60 characters. Also, we need here class name. It's going to be title input. After that, I'm going to open text area. Let's add here class name, text input. Then we need placeholder attribute, and the value is going to be add text. Okay, so finally, I'm going to add here button, and it's going to be submit btn. Also, I'm going to add here type attribute, and it's going to be submit. As for the text of the button, I'm going to insert here submit button. Alright, so I think that's it about the JSX contents of the form. So here we have all the elements. Now we have to start to style this part. So right after here, I'm going to select blocks, right form. First of all, I'm going to align the content of this element using flexbox. So we need display flex. Then I'm going to change the direction. We have to align flex items vertically in the column. So we need here column. Then I'm going to align items in the center. And also let's create gap using row gap. And the value is going to be 5 rem. Alright, so here we have the heading and the form. After that, I'm going to select blocks, right form, followed by the h1 heading element. I'm going to change the font family. It's going to be Comforta sans serif. Then I'm going to change the font size. It's going to be clamped function, and I'm going to insert here 3 values. The first one is going to be minimum value 2 rem. Then I'm going to insert here 5 CQI, which is going to be the preferred value. As for the third parameter, it's going to be 6 rem, the maximum value. Next, I'm going to make the text uppercase. Let's go ahead and check the results. So as you can see, we have here the heading. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to change the color of the heading, and I'm going to use some gradient effect like we have it in the final version. So let's go ahead and add here background with a linear gradient function. We have to change the direction of the color transition. It's going to be to right, and then we need the colors be A8 EFC. As for the second color, it's going to be 6877 F4. So if we check the browser, then you will find here that the background of the heading is changed. We don't need that. We have to change the color of the text itself. So in order to do that, I'm going to add here 2 properties. The first one is WebKit background clip. We have to make it text, and then we need WebKit text fill color, and it's going to be transparent. Now if we check, then we'll get here nice and cool gradient effect. Alright, so that's it about the heading element. Next we have to take care of the form. So let's go ahead and select blocks right form, followed by the form element. I'm going to use flexbox to align the content of the form. So let's add here display flex. Then we need flex direction to be column. We have to align the inputs vertically in a row. So we need here column, and also I'm going to create some gap using row gap with the value 4 rem. Let's check the result. So as you can see, the content is placed vertically in a column. Next, I'm going to customize each of the elements separately. Let's go ahead and start with file upload. It is a label element. So I'm going to add here display flags. Then we need to align items in the center. Also, let's create column gap, make it 2 rem. Then I'm going to change the font size, it's going to be 2 rem. Also, let's change the color, let's use BBB. And finally, make the cursor pointer. Alright, so as you can see, the label element is styled. Next, I'm going to customize the icon. So let's go ahead and select file upload, followed by the I element. I'm going to change the font size, it's going to be 4 rem. As for the color of the icon, I'm going to use here color B88EFC. So as you can see, the icon looks pretty nice. The next thing that I'm going to do is to hide this input element at all. So let's go ahead and select blocks, right form. Then we need input elements. And we have to specify here the type of the input. It's going to be file. In order to hide this element, we have to use display none. So as you can see, the input element is hidden. Alright, so now let's take care of the inputs down below. I'm going to select both elements, I mean the input and the text area, because we need some similar styles for both elements. So let's go ahead and select title input, followed by the text input element. So first of all, I'm going to define the width. Let's use clamp function. The first value is going to be 15 rem as the minimum value. Then we need 25 CQI, the preferred value. As for the maximum value, it's going to be 45 rem. Then I'm going to change the background. Let's make it transparent. Also, I'm going to get rid of border. Let's set it to none. And then I'm going to add here border at the bottom. The values will be 0.1 rem, solid. And as the color, I'm going to use B88EFC. Next, I'm going to create some padding inside the input. So we need here 2 rem at the top and bottom sides and 0 on the left and right sides. Finally, let's add here color, make it DDD. Actually, the text area is not styled. Let's check the class names. So we have here text input and title input. Yes, we have a typo. We need text. Now it should be styled. Okay, so both input elements now have some styles. I'm going to select title input and I'm going to set its font size to 1.8 rem. Next, I'm going to take care of the placeholders. Let's select placeholders of both elements. I'm going to start with title input, placeholder. Then I'm going to duplicate this code and change the class. We need here text input. So first of all, let's change the font family. I'm going to set font to Comforta, sans serif. Then I'm going to set the font size to 1.3 rem. Also change the color, make it B88EFC. And finally, I'm going to decrease the opacity. Let's make it 0.5. So as you can see, the placeholders look pretty nice. Next, I'm going to make the placeholder of the title input slightly bigger. So let's go ahead and select title input placeholder and set its font size to 1.6 rem. Let's check the results. So the font size is not changed because we should place this code down below. Now, as you can see, the title is bigger. Okay, so now the next thing that I'm going to do is to hide the placeholders once we focus the inputs. So let's go ahead and actually I'm going to grab those selectors. Let's paste them here and add here focus pseudo class. So once we focus the inputs, we have to make the color of the placeholders transparent. Now let's check the results. So as you can see, once we focus the inputs, then the placeholders hide. Okay, so everything works fine. Now I'm going to take care of the text area. We need some individual styles for text area. Let's go ahead and select text input. I'm going to set aspect ratio to 5/3. It will increase the height of the text area. And also I'm going to disable the resizing feature. So let's set resize to none. So as you can see, the height of the text area is changed, and also we can no longer resize the text area. Now we have to take care of the submit button. Let's go ahead and customize this element as well. So I'm going to select submit btn. First of all, we need to define the height. It's going to be 5 rem. Then I'm going to change the background. Let's use again linear gradient function. So in this case, I'm going to change the direction of the color transition and make it to left. As for the colors, I'm going to set the first color to B88EFC. As for the second color, I'm going to make it 6877F4. Okay, after that, I'm going to get rid of default border. Let's set it to none. Also, I'm going to make the button rounded using border radius. The value is going to be 5 rem. Then I'm going to change the color. Let's make it white. But before that, I'm going to take care of the font. Let's set font size to 1.8 rem. Alright, after that I'm going to make the text uppercase. So let's add here text transform uppercase. Then I'm going to set letter spacing to 0.1 rem. Also, let's create some shadow effect using text shadow. I'm going to add here the following values. We need 0, 0.5 rem, 1 rem, and then RGBA color. We need here black color with the opacity 0.2. And finally, let's change the cursor, make it 0.2. Okay, so the button is customized, and the last thing that I'm going to do in this video is to create the clicking effect. So I'm going to grab this code. Let's paste it here, change the class name. We need here submit button. Let's go to the browser. So as you can see, we have here clicking effect. Actually, this button has type submit. That's why the page is refreshed on every click. Okay, so fantastic work, everyone. We have successfully created and styled the form in our blog section. Now users will have an intuitive and visually appealing interface to create new blog posts. This form is a crucial part of our blog section, and we have ensured it aligns perfectly with our application's overall design. We will start adding functionality to our blog section. We will implement features that allow users to submit their posts, display them on the main blog page, and manage their content with editing and deleting capabilities. This will make our blog section fully interactive and dynamic. Now we're going to add functionality that allows us to navigate between the news and blog sections seamlessly, display the form for creating a new post, and then return to the news section. This is a crucial feature that will make our application more interactive and user-friendly. We will implement navigation so that clicking on the user in the news section takes us to the blog section, clicking the Create New Post button displays the form, and clicking the back button returns us to the news section. So let's dive in and get started. First of all, I'm going to go to the news.jsx file and create, actually not news.jsx, but I'm going to open up.jsx file. So we need to create two state variables. The first one is going to be show news. Then we need setter function, set show news. It's going to be equal to useState, and as the default value, I'm going to insert here true. Next, we need another state variable, and it's going to be show blocks. Then we need an updater function, set show blocks. It's going to be equal to useState, and as the default value, I'm going to insert here false. So we need these state variables to control the visibility of different sections within our application. Show news and show blocks are used to determine which sections, I mean news or blocks, should be displayed to the user at any given time. These state variables help manage user interactions. For example, when a user clicks on a specific element, we want to switch the view from one section to another. So by toggling the values of show news and show blocks, we can trigger the re-rendering of the component to display the appropriate section. This ensures a smooth and responsive user experience. Show news is a Boolean value that indicates whether the news section should be displayed. Initially, it's set to true, meaning the news section is visible when the application loads. By calling setShowNews function, we can hide the news section. Show blocks is also a Boolean that indicates whether the block section should be displayed. Initially, it's set to false. It means that the block section is hidden when the application loads. By calling setShowBlocks function, we can display the block section. Okay, so now we have to create two different functions. The first one is going to be handle show blocks. I'm going to insert here set show news function. Actually, we need news, and we have to set it to false. Then we need set show blocks, and we have to make it true. Let's duplicate this function. So the second function is going to be handle back to news, and we need here set show news with value true and set show blocks with value false. So we need these functions to manage the navigation between different sections of our application. They control the visibility of the news and block sections based on user interactions. Handle show blocks function is responsible for switching the view from the news section to the block section. When this function is called, it sets show news to false and show blocks to true. This effectively hides the news section and displays the block section. Then we have handle back to news function. It is responsible for switching the view from the block section back to the news section. When this function is called, it sets show blocks to false and show news to true. This effectively hides the block section and displays the news section. Now, down below, we have here news and blocks components. I'm going to get rid of the comment from here. Then I'm going to open curly braces where we have to insert show news followed by the AND operator. Then we need to pass here news component, and I'm going to add here prop on show blocks, which should be equal to handle show blocks function. So this line uses the show news state variable to determine whether the news component should be rendered. Show news is a Boolean state variable that indicates whether the news section should be displayed. So if show news is true, the expression after the AND operator will be evaluated and the news component will be rendered. Next we have news component being rendered. It is passed a prop named onShowBlocks, which is assigned the handle showBlocks function. This function will be used within the news component to handle the transition from the news section to the block section. When show news is true, the news component is rendered with the onShowBlocks prop, enabling the functionality to switch to the blocks section. Now we need the similar thing with the blocks component as well. So I'm going to duplicate this line of code. Let's get rid of blocks component from here. Instead of show news, we need here show blocks. Then we need here blocks component. Instead of on show blocks, I'm going to add here on back. And then we need function called handle back to news. Let's copy and paste it here. So this line uses the show blocks state variable to determine whether the blocks component should be rendered. Show blocks is a Boolean state variable and it indicates whether the block section should be displayed. So if this state variable is true, the expression after the AND operator will be evaluated and the blocks component will be rendered. Similar to the previous line, the logical AND operator is used to conditionally render the blocks component only if show blocks is true. Next we have the blocks component being rendered. It is passed a prop named onBack, which is assigned the handle back to news function. This function will be used within the blocks component to handle the transition from the blocks section back to the news section. So when show blocks is true, the blocks component is rendered with the onBack prop, enabling the functionality to switch back to the news section. Alright. So that's it about the app.jsx file. Now we have to go to the news component and we have to add onShowBlocks prop to the news function. Let's insert here curly braces and then add onShowBlocks prop. Next we have to add onClick event handler to the user and pass the onShowBlock prop. So let's go ahead and find user. Add here onClick event handler and then insert here on show blocks prop. In the same way, we have to go to the block section. Let's add here onBack prop. Actually, we need here onBack. Then I'm going to find the back button and add to it onClick event handler. We need here onClick and we have to pass here onBack. Alright, let's go to the browser. So by default the news section is rendered. If I click the user, then we will navigate to the block section. Then if I click back button, we will go back to the news section. Alright, so everything works perfectly for now. Next we have to take care of displaying the form once we click the create new post button. First of all, I'm going to create new state variable here in the blocks component. It's going to be show form. Then we need set show form. It should be equal to useState and we need to make the default value false. So we initialize the show form state to false. This means that initially the form for creating a new post is not visible. Now we have to use a conditional rendering to display the form. So we have here button, which is commented out. Let's delete comment. Now inside here, I'm going to open curly braces and we have to check if show form is true or false. If it is true, then we have to render form elements. I'm going to grab this entire element from here and paste it here. If show form is false, then we have to display the button. Let's grab this code and paste it here. Okay, the only thing that we have to do is to add to the button onClick event handler. We need here a callback function and we have to set show form to true. So once we click the create new post button, then show form will become true and the form will be rendered. Let's check. Click user. So we are navigated to the block section. by default the Create New Post button is rendered. If I click it, then the form will be displayed. Then if I click Back button, we will go back to the News section. Alright, so that's it. We successfully implemented the navigation between the News and Blog section of our application. We learned how to use state variables to manage which section is displayed and how to handle user interactions to switch between these sections. By setting up conditional rendering, we made our application more dynamic and responsive to user actions. Now, when users click on the Create New Post button, they can see and interact with the form, and they can navigate back to the News section with ease. In this lecture, we will be working on creating and customizing the My Blogs section within our News component. We will start by creating the JSX content for this section, and then move on to styling and customizing it to ensure it blends seamlessly with the rest of our application. This will help us set the foundation for managing and displaying user-created blog posts. Let's go back to the VS Code, and in the news.jsx file, let's find My Blogs section. So here we have it. Right now it is empty. We have here just this text. Let's get rid of this text, and in here I'm going to open h1 heading element with the class name My Blogs heading. I'm going to insert here My Blogs. Then after h1 heading element, I'm going to open div tag, and it's going to be blog posts. It's going to be the wrapper of the posts. Then inside this div element, I'm going to open another div with the class name blog post. So each blog post will include the image, then the title, and also buttons for editing and deleting. So now I'm going to insert here image. Let's change the value of alt attribute. It's going to be post image. As for the image itself, I'm going to import a couple of different images from the images folder. Let's import image with the name blog image 1. We need here from assets images, and then I'm going to select blog1.jpg. Let's duplicate this line of code 3 times and then change the names of the images. We need here blog 2, then 3, and then blog 4. Okay, now we can use those images. Let's change the value of the source attribute. We need here curly braces and the name of the image, blog image 1. Now if we check the browser, you will see here the image, which right now is big, but we will fix that in a minute. So after image, I'm going to open h3 heading elements, and I'm going to insert here some dummy text. Let's say lorem with the forwards. Now I'm going to open div tag, and it's going to be wrapper of the post buttons. So we'll have 2 buttons, one for editing and the second one for deleting. So let's open button with the class name edit post. It will include, actually we need here edit. So the button will include box icon. We need I element with the classes bx, then bxs edit. Then I'm going to duplicate the button. Let's change the class name. We need here delete button. As for the I elements, it's going to be, actually we don't need here dash. Let's get rid of it. Also I'm going to get rid of this dash as well. So we need here bx, bxs, and then x circle. Actually, that's it about the blog post. All the elements are created. Now, this is a hard-coded data, but we will change it with the dynamic one in the coming lectures. So right now, I'm going to duplicate this post 3 times. And then quickly change the images. So we need here blog image 2, then 3, and then 4. Okay, so I think that's it about the JSX content. Let's go to the browser. So we have here the contents, and again the images are bigger, so I'm going to fix that right now. So let's open news.css file and find my blogs. Here we have it. So I'm going to select blog post image, and I'm going to set its width to, let's say, 17 rem. It is a temporary value. So now, as you can see, the images became smaller and we can see the entire content of my blog section. Let's go ahead and add some more styles to the wrapper, my blogs. So I'm going to use flexbox in order to align the content of the section. So we need display flex. Then we have to change the direction. Let's set it to column because we need to align flex items vertically. Then I'm going to create some gap using row gap with the value of 3 rem. And also I'm going to create some padding at the bottom. Let's add here bottom. The value will be 2 rem. Alright, after that I'm going to select heading elements with the class name my blogs heading. First of all, I'm going to define the font family. It's going to be Ebas New E sans serif. Then I'm going to change the font size. It's going to be 3 rem. Also, let's change the color, make it DDD. Then let's create some space between letters using letter spacing. The value will be 0.1 rem. And finally, we need padding. Let's make it 2 rem on all 4 sides. Okay, so here we have the heading, which looks pretty nice. Next, I'm going to take care of the wrapper of the post. I mean, this div element. Let's find it. So this development here, blog posts. Let's go ahead and select blog posts. I'm going to use again flexbox. We need display flex. Then in order to place the posts on different lines, we have to use flex wrap with value wrap. So as you can see, the posts are placed on 2 lines. Next, I'm going to add here gap. It's going to be 1.2 rem, and also we need padding equal to 1.2 rem on all 4 sides. And also I'm going to add here justify content space between. Okay, so right now the blog posts are aligned again vertically in a column. It happens because we added gap and padding, and we'll fix that soon. So next I'm going to select the blog post itself. I'm going to add here flex property with the value 0, 1, and as the third value I'm going to add here calc function. I'm going to make a little calculation. We need 50% minus 0.6 rem. Okay, so now as you can see, the problem is fixed and the blog posts are aligned on 2 lines. So this is a shorthand for the flex grow, flex shrink, and flex basis properties in a flex container. Here is what each part means. The value 0 means that the flex item will not grow to fill the available space in the flex container. It will only occupy its specified width. Then we have 1, which means that the flex item is allowed to shrink if there is not enough space in the flex container. And finally, as the third value, we have here a calculation, 50% minus 0.6 rem. This specifies the initial main size of the flex item. In this case, it calculates to half of the container's width minus 0.6 rem. I subtract here 0.6 rem because we have gap equal to 1.2 rem and we need the half of the gap. Okay, so in a sense, this line makes each blog post element take up half of the width of the container minus this value here, and ensures they can shrink if necessary, but won't grow beyond their calculated width. Okay, next I'm going to add here border radius. It's going to be 1 rem. Next I'm going to customize the images. Right now it has width 17 rem, and I'm going to get rid of this value. We need width equal to 100%. Also, I'm going to set height to 100%. Then we need to fit the image using object fit cover, and then let's set border radius to 1 rem, and also I'm going to decrease the opacity of the image. Let's make it 0.5. Alright, so that's the way how the images look for now. Next I'm going to customize the headings, and it will change slightly the layout. So let's go ahead and select blog post, followed by the h3 heading element. First of all, I'm going to change the position of the h3 heading element. Let's set position to absolute. Then we need position relative for the blog post, which is the parent element. So we need here position relative.